Japan has got their revenge. The reason why I say Japan has got their revenge is it's been a couple months since I had this weird dream. But it starts out like any other dream, like maybe you wake up at home. Well, I woke up in my bed because I thought I heard bombs going off. I look outside my window, nothing has changed. So I get out of bed, go into the living room. My mom's sitting on the couch, my sister's sitting in the recliner we have. Until I look out in the front yard. There is nothing. Well, then I question myself on what the hell was going on. Well, then I ended up somehow blacking out, and I woke up in a forest. And within this forest, there was a group of survivors who, or I should say more like renegade hillbillies. Not trying to insult anyone. Well, one of them, there was one of my exes. Well, she said I could join their civilization if I wanted to, and I thought it was a good deal because they had an underground bunker. Well, it was great until she started hitting on me again, and I told her to back off. And then I ended up pulling the gun on her, and everyone hated me. And then I eventually told them why I pulled a gun on them. They lowered. She was still pissed. But as I was walking out of that vault, I see a freaking Japanese Zero flying in and drops an atomic bomb. Well, it ended up going into the vault. Luckily, I was outside. But I did a dick move. I closed the vault. And it exploded, killing everyone inside. Well, then I found myself all alone again. I was walking out in the woods, and then another blackout. This time, I'm in the car with my grandma. And my two best friends, Tin K and Gus, were sitting in the back. I was in the passenger seat. And me and my grandma, we were just cruising down the countryside. And then I look up, some more Japanese bombers. They dropped a bomb in front of us, which was, I thought I was gonna shit my pants. But it exploded. But that's when I realized that these Japanese do not know how to make nuclear bombs. Because as soon as it's detonated, say this is the blast radius. It was so slow, but it only went probably about 30 feet from the center. So we were able to, when we saw it, we were able to back up, let it blow up, and then drive around. Well, then somehow my grandma crashed. She disappeared. My friend Aaron disappeared, and 10K, and his brother Gus disappeared without a trace. Well, I got out of the car. I was walking in the woods again. Well, I found a cave. In that cave was an elderly man and his daughter, which would be roughly the same age as me. They agreed to let me stay with them because I was harmless, or I am harmless, and plus, they're good people. Well, a few days later, the nuclear waste started emitting rays and started turning things into mutants, especially the fish and the worms. The worms were the worst, and that brings me to the conclusion what happened the next couple of days. We were just sitting in our cave, and these weird worm things were coming out of the walls trying to grab us and trying to eat us. We shot a couple, killed them, and then we ran. Well, we found ourselves walking down a creek. And we saw more Japanese Zeros dropping bombs. And we ended up finding a church, and it looked like the church was untouched. So I thought, and they did too, that the Japanese had a heart for religion. So we go in there, and then me and the girl's father hear what seems to be a plane diving in. So we freak out. We run out of the church. The woman, or his daughter, ran the complete opposite way that we did. And then when she figured out what happened, she went to go run back to us. But then, boom! She died. Well, so me and that elderly guy, after we had some sorrow moments, we ended up finding a town that was not touched by any bombs. What little did we know is that that place was run by Japan. Well, we ended up when we got up to the village, it was all fenced up. Well, apparently there was also Japanese people doing border checks. Well, me and the elderly guy, we saw one, and apparently the Japanese soldier saw us. We dropped down to pretend like we were dead. He comes over and walks to us, says, and he speaks perfect English. I know you're not dead. Now get up before I actually shoot you. So we get up. He takes us inside the village. There, he gives us new clothes, and he gives us a place to stay and eat food. Well, the next day, while we're in the building, we went upstairs because technically we were forced to set up things, and in return for us doing stuff for them, they kept us well fed, they kept us well dressed. Well, there was generals, lieutenants, pretty much every high member of the military, other than the president, was sitting around the tables in that room, and the Japanese prime minister, or the whatever you want to call it, the speaker for Japan, came in, and he had papers and saying that we were back off under these demands. Well, the American military did not like the demands and said screw this, and the speaker of Japan goes, oh, suit yourself, walks out, and they start more bombings. This time they started bombing closer to the village. But that time, I said my farewells to the old men that I met. Turns out my friend Robbie was also in that village. Me and him started hanging out before I left. I was fishing for a while when he came up to me. Well, he somehow tried to convince me to stay, but I said, nah, I ain't gonna change it. Well, when the Japanese started their bombings close to the village, me and him were out on a walk along a canal, like the rivers that they have in LA, the concrete canals and whatnot. We were walking along one of those, and the Japanese started bombing towards us. Like I said, their blast radiuses suck. So we were able to outrun the blast radius and be avoiding. And then, bam! I woke up not knowing anything. What happened? But the thing that really still haunts me is I remember this 100% to the detail of this dream that makes no freaking sense. But every other dream that makes sense to me just vanishes. Or I have a dream, and then a couple years to a couple months to maybe a couple days, it comes true. But it doesn't. I forget about that dream until it actually comes true. But more of the story. Japan might get their revenge, so watch out.